Our leaders will be fighting a defensive battle against these brigands, and the way that works is you roll to determine how many of the enemy force will be deployed. There were 9 total, and I rolled 8 of them deploying. So there are actually 2 brigands with bows. You'll see one of them down the right corner. I call them a bogand. And the second one is the enemy that was randomly determined to not be on the board initially. So they'll join in a future turn. For the rest of the enemies that did deploy, we divide them into 2 roughly equal bands, and usually you line them up side by side. But in this scenario, since it's all taking place inside of a building, I didn't think that made a lot of sense. So I put them front and rear. So the front party has their sergeant, the brigand leader, as well as 2 brigands and the unique foe that we have here, the deranged cultist to Selin. And then behind them, we have the 3 brigands and the brigand with the bow, the bogand, bringing up the rear. So what will happen now is they get an enemy infiltration step where they try and infiltrate the manor without being detected by our heroes. So they'll try and get closer before they attack us. And I rolled, the enemies can actually deploy up to the chandelier up here. So we'll start moving them up a little bit, starting with the brigand leader, where they're infiltrating the manor as our party sits in leisure. The pending danger being unbeknownst to them. So that's that group. And this back group, let's actually just move as one. If I can get the correct tool, there we go. Then I'll just move up. Some of them will hop over the barrier, and we'll have them here in the back line. So now how we resolve the enemy infiltration is the leftmost enemy figure will move 4 inches forward, trying to get as close as possible to us without being spotted. So they'll try and remain in cover. And then we'll select a member of our warband, and we'll roll 2d6. And if we roll a number greater than the distance between the enemy that just moved and the warband member that is trying to detect, then we detect the enemies and the battle is on. But if we don't, then they just keep advancing. If you roll double sixes, then you automatically reveal the infiltrators. And one of the cool things about ferals, which Seff is one, is that they get a +1 to this roll. One of the not so cool things is this can just keep going until your warband discovers the enemies, so they can just keep getting closer and closer. I know that the rules say the leftmost, but we're going to go ahead and begin with our leader, the brigand leader, because he was the first one in. It makes the most sense to go top to bottom in this scenario. And one other note, I did customize the scenario a little bit. I used a story point. So we're in the middle of town, and these brigands were brazen enough to attack us. They are hunting us. We know that from some of the rolls that we've made. So someone or something in the kingdom of Ozetin is trying to prevent our warband from getting to Sour and dealing with that undead threat. And this is the first of perhaps many of these foes pursuing us as we try and get to the seas and then over to the island. That being said, they have some pressure to come after us, which is why they're being so brazen as to attack us in the city. To represent that, I used a story point. This is a defensive battle. We're going to roll at the end of every single upkeep phase to see if the guards take notice of the commotion that is surely about to happen. And if they do, then I'll start a timer. And I'll roll all of these at the appropriate time. So it gives the enemy a little bit of a clock in their efforts to try and deal with us. And it turns it a little bit into like a survival type mission. If you've played any tactical RPGs, you're probably familiar with those types of missions. So that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to survive against these well-armed brigands. They do have impressive stat lines for our low levels. So you'll see on the screen here in a moment, they can move 5 inches normally, and they can dash 2. They can probably only dash 2 because they basically have partial armor. They have 2 armor each, which is already enough. And then they have 4 toughness, and their leader here has 5 toughness. And in addition to all of that, they all have 1 combat skill. So for where we're at in the game, these are pretty powerful enemies. In the grand scheme of the game, perhaps more of an average, enemy, but we're just starting out, so this is going to be quite the battle. And even the deranged mage Tisselin has 1 armor and 4 toughness, and also 5 move and 3 dash. So these foes will put up a fight, and Tisselin does have +1 combat as well. So they all have +1 combat, whereas on our team, only Shriek and Vectra have +1 combat. And given the ambushy nature of this defensive battle, Vectra is not even in position to utilize her crossbow effectively. So her whole first turn is just going to be getting into position because you cannot move and shoot a crossbow in the same round. All right, all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. We will go over to our measurement tool and let's move this bandit leader. So he's going to come forward 4. And then we'll have Seff make the roll because he's by the fire with Lorien. So they'll both have the best vantage points as far as these enemies. But I believe, let's actually zoom out real quick before I do any rolls. I don't think it's even possible to detect them at this distance, in which case I just won't roll. Yeah, 13 is the furthest that Seff can detect. So basically right before the screen desynced. There we go, should be seeing the right thing once again. So the furthest that Seff can detect is 13, even with his feral senses, and that would be through a wall, as you can see here. So I'm not even going to roll for detection until the enemies get up to this point. In fact, I'm just going to move them all up. That will just save us some time. So you get back into your formation, and then we're going to move all of you forward like this. And those bandits that would end up inside of a wall, we will just move like so. So they're not inside of walls. And now we will begin. So just to explain what happened for those who are very familiar with the game, the furthest that I could actually move was right around that chandelier. That's the furthest I could deploy the enemy forces. But by nature of this infiltration phase, my heroes cannot detect them until they're within at least 13. I guess technically I could have spammed a bunch of rolls 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So maybe we'll do that, sure. But looking for double sixes basically. But as long as there's not double sixes in any of these, that's the third, that's the fourth, that's the fifth, that's the sixth, that's the seventh. It'd be really funny if it happened here on the eighth. Nope. So they would not have been automatically detected. And now we begin from the top again. So the brigand leader will go in, and we're actually going to use Vectra to do our detection in a second because she's a little bit isolated here, which is quite unfortunate. There is a doorway right here that we can see, but the most direct path is right here, right through the door. So poor Vectra, and there's no door right here behind her. So the only exit she has is this window, but Vectra is not going to be fleeing. That's not her style. So first let's have this brigand leader before 4. He's going to try and stay in cover. So he'll try and stay behind this door. And then Vectra is going to get a roll. Ooh, she notices him immediately. She's like, hey, what's going on over there? And that is within 10. So base to base, he's actually 9 away. She got a 10, actually 8 away. So what happens next? The moving figure has been spotted. And then this step ends immediately, and we are ready to begin the first battle round. All right, so what happens now is interesting. This is one of the things I really like about the game is it presents many complex scenarios for you to puzzle through. So these well-armed brigands have an ability, which is that their bogand friends, their brigands with bows, shoot immediately at the start of combat. However, she can't see anything, So there's nothing for her to shoot at. I was hoping that she could, well, my warband was not hoping this, but setting up the scenario, I was hoping that we could have this brigand with the bow get over to here and get a shot off. But following with the deployment rules, you go front to back. So I wasn't really expecting such a nice roll for Vector to find him, excuse me, right away. So that's lucky for us that Vectra has some keen ears and keen sight, and we get to avoid being shot at immediately at the start of the battle. So that negates one of the abilities of these foes, the main ability of these foes, which is great for us. Now what's going to happen is we're going to roll initiative for our warband and assign them all some dice. All right, so I have a 2 for Lorien, which he'll take because he's the only one that has 2 agility on the entire squad. And then Vectra is a Feyblood. So what that means is I can assign any die to her and re-roll it. So I'll just roll 1d6 here again. We're looking for ones. We got a 6. So everybody is going in the slow action phase after the enemies, except for Lorien, who gets to go first. And we will go ahead and take advantage of that. So he hears a commotion. Vectra probably shouts, "Enemies!" And now we are on the move. So we will move Lorien. Let's see, I made these nifty little cards for reference because last time I had to keep looking everybody up. I'll show some on the screen here in just a second, but Lorien can move 7 total if he dashes, and I believe he'll need to do so because he cannot see anything with his sling. I'll say he can't just climb over that table like a barbarian. So he'll move 2 to there, and then 2 to here, and that's his normal move. Then he's going to try and dash for 3 more. And he'll angle towards his bookshelf a little more so that Seff will have a chance when it is his turn. But that's us. That's us in the quick actions phase. So now it's going to go back to the enemies. And importantly, in that infiltration step, it does not take their turn. So they keep going, and then you spot them. So even though the brigand leader was one that moved forward and got spotted, they still have a turn in the enemy phase. So we will have the brigand leader move up here. They can move a total of 8, and I think he's only got one thing on his mind right now, and that is getting into melee combat. They will generally try and stay in cover, but in this case, he can almost get into range with her to melee right away, but luckily it's just a couple inches short. So instead of doing that, he's going to move up, and there really is no great place for him to have cover, but he's going to have a lot of confidence that he's got his friends there. So he's just going to move up. There's going to be like 8 of them and 1 of her. So they're going to just go for it. This one will also follow his leader's lead. So he's going to move 5 and then he'll dash up. And that's 7. He'll probably stay at this door because they do want to stay in cover if possible. And he's going to try and avoid just being straight out in the open. This other one, similar story, and they do block each other. So I'll go 5, and then we'll go 3 more up to here. And the doors will, I guess, technically raw. You spend an inch to open the doors, and then they stay open. I was going to say they swing closed, but they don't, which also means that this guy needs to move back 1 inch because he had to pay a tax. In that case, he's actually going to end up moving here. You saw when I was moving him that I looked at the bed to see if he could get around it, but I'll just move him there, and then he can try and use the edge of that bed as some cover, which hopefully will happen to no avail because Vectra will just get him. This Tessellan fellow is actually going to go last. And I do believe, probably by rules as written, I'm doing this backwards. I think you're supposed to go from the farthest to the nearest. But again, we're in such a condensed space. If we did that, and since they body block, a bunch of people couldn't go. So I'm going from nearest to farthest. And Tessellan has other plans. He's one of those mischievous foes who just kind of wants to sit here and let everybody else do the work. So that is exactly what he's going to do. He'll just move himself over to the corner so that he's not being a hindrance to his team. And he's going to call that good. He'll just go to that nook a little bit, which brings us to the bow brigand. And the bow brigand, I believe, can move 5 and 3. Nope, 5 and 2, because they all have that armor. So I'll move up 5 right to there. And do they have any type of shot? I do not believe they do because their friends block. Yeah, and there's that doorway here. So lucky for Vectra, she's actually positioned quite well unwittingly, in which case she will just move forward into this nook. So next turn, actually, she'll move over to here and get a visual so that next turn she can add her combat bonus to her shot on Vectra. These are stealth bows, which I believe have an 18-inch range, so that should be well within range. Yeah, that's correct, 18-inch. All right, let's keep moving forward here. The brigands we're just going to have move up. And again, we'll try to angle them so they're behind some cover. But it's just a jolly old party at this point, unfortunately. All right, for our warband, Seff will jump into action. He can move 5 and then 2 because he has partial armor on. So that's 3, 4, 5. As a pharaoh, he can shoot with a ranged weapon. He has a sling after he moves. But 1, he doesn't get that as combat bonus, and 2, he can't see through walls, unfortunately. He's not Superman. So he will move up here to the corner himself. Maybe even right up to that door. Actually, he'll open the door. He'll move there and then he'll open the door because there is that 1-inch tax to open doors. And so the door will be open and he'll turn to face the foes. That's him. Marin, likewise, will turn, put down her books in her study and start running towards the commotion. She moves 4 plus 3. That's 4, 1, open the door, and then 1 more. But actually, in this case, I think I'll have her move over here because if she just opens the door and stands out there, she's just gonna be out in the open. So she will still open the door, but then she'll kind of stay here by the behind the wall. Next, we have Garrick, who is foraging over there. I will say RP wise that he'll have already opened this door because he was coming in here to get some food. So he will not get that tax. He'll come out like this, and then he'll come down here for 2, and then he'll come down here for 3. His main focal point here is he's far enough away, he probably doesn't know there's an attack, but he hears the shouting. So he's just thinking, oh, they're having a good old time here by the hearth. So he's gonna try and walk over there. And then Shriek, we'll have Shriek just move forward as well. I think Shriek is what, 5? Yeah, 5-3, even with his armor, because he's just a fast boy. So he'll come out here, 3, pay attacks to open that door, and then he'll go 1, 2, 3 more right over to there. And unfortunately for us, Shriek is one of our best combatants, and he is going to take the longest. All right, so now a few things happen. We go into the end round, the upkeep part of combat, the upkeep phase, that's what it's called. And in the upkeep phase, we're going to roll to see if or when that other enemy joins us. And then we're also going to roll to see some nefarious magics from this deranged cultist. Oh, you know what? This enemy is not outflanking, so I don't think that I place this other bogand off the board. We will go ahead and fix that. Just kind of put this brigand with the bow in the back. That is a lot of enemies. Oof, this is going to be a problem. So the victory condition here, by the way, is to reduce half of the enemy force. Then the others will run away. Half of the enemy force,
either directly through combat or through morale failures. We would normally resolve morale failures now, but as you can see, there's been no combat. So let's go ahead and roll. We're going to roll on for the enemy cultist. They roll 3d6 each round. We note how many sixes are rolled, and then once 6 sixes have been rolled, bad things happen. So luckily for us, there are not 6 sixes here. There's no sixes, so we're good to go. And to clarify, you don't roll and see if you've rolled 3 sixes at once. You just keep track of how many sixes are rolled from this, and then once 3 of them are rolled, bad things happen, so it's not great. That being said, we will just continue moving forward. 2, 4, 5, 6 dice for our initiative rolls. All right, we've got a 1 and a 2, so let's go ahead and give Seff one of the 1s. We'll give one of the 2s to Lorien because he's the only one who can effectively use it. And everybody else has a 1. You know, though, so here's what I was thinking. I was thinking I'll add a die to Vectra to see if she can get it because it's kind of playing for the high roll, seeing if I can get more characters in the quick phase. But I actually think it makes more sense to give the 1 to Vectra because she can perhaps take one of these folks out before they start charging in. She can also reposition. Actually, she can't if she wants to use her crossbow. She does have a short sword, which is just a RP flavoring of a standard weapon, so it's just +0/+0. But I think she would want to shoot. Problem being that then she can be shot in turn. Let's measure real quick. How far away? I think they're within 12, but the table doesn't give you any bonuses within 12 in the open in this game. I don't believe. Yeah, within weapon range and in the open is just a 5+. Um, if they're within 6 and in the open, then it's a 3+. So she can try and shoot the brigand leader here because he'll be within 6. I think he's the only one within 6. Yeah, these other guys are going to be like 7, 8. Yep, just far enough away. So let's go ahead and take the sure thing instead of high rolling. We'll give Vector the 1. We will not give Seff any high dice so that he gets to go, and then we'll give Lorien the 2 so that he can act and move around Seff and cast the spell. That being said, I am curious what would have happened. Oh well, I won't do that. I was going to roll and see what that dice is going to be, but we've made a decision. Let's not look down the other path. So Vectra will go first, and she is going to fire at the brigand leader with her crossbow. She does have a combat skill of 1, so she'll get +1 to the roll. She only needs a 3 because he's within 3 inches. She gets the 3 because she has the +1 combat skill. So we're going to roll to overcome armor now. That is definitely armor overcome. Wow, this crossbow bolt punches straight through that armor. That's a 7 to overcome armor. And then we'll roll to overcome toughness. That is enough. Let me double check. I don't think you add your combat to overcoming toughness. Yeah, you add any overcome toughness bonuses, which she doesn't have any. Her bonus was on overcoming armor. All right, so the leader becomes wounded and stunned. All right, we'll use that little marker to denote that he is wounded. So you can see up here in the corner that he's got a little wound marker going on right there. All right, so now we have Lorien the Mystic. And Lorien has a bunch of utility spells, but I'm not sure that any are going to be overly useful right now. So I might just have him walk around that corner and shoot with a sling. He has a summon, so if one of us is injured, then he can summon, um, like a being to come help us. But he can only cast it when we're under our maximum of 6, and we're not yet. He's got Steel Break, which could be really useful here actually, because they all have 2 armor. Then he's got Mobility, which is not going to be the greatest. We're not going to have a lot of difficult terrain inside of this battlefield, and Frighten, but again, we're not really close enough to mix it up right now.
So I think I will just measure some distances for him. 1, 2, 3, 4. But you know what? He's not a feral. So he could get out here and fire his sling if he was a feral, but he's not. So feral have a bonus, which allows them to fire ranged weapons even if they've moved their full distance. But being a halfling, that is not the case. So I'll move him back to where he was. So instead we'll have him move 3, and then he'll move down 1. Then let's check that line of sight. He can see that bow brigand. He can also see any of these other brigands. So we'll go ahead and try and cast Steel Break on one of these brigands. He probably can't see this one. That angle's a little too extreme, clipping the wall, but he can see Brigand 2. So let's go ahead and try and cast Steel Break. Let's see, that's going to be an 8, which I believe is enough. Yes, 7 plus. So now they count as armor 0 for a full round. So we'll go ahead and mark that on this foe as well. We'll also just use a little dot counter like we did on that last one. And that green one indicates that he is armor broken. Perfect. So that is Lorien. Now it's on to the bad guys. So first things first, we're going to continue going from top to bottom in this scenario, just because we're all scrunched in. This bandit brigand leader is definitely going to rush in and attack Vectra. So we're going to do some combat bonus roll-offs. He has a combat bonus of 1, as does Vectra, but I think she'll fight defensively, which is just, instead of trying to inflict a hit, she's just trying not to get wrecked. So she'll roll 2 dice, and he'll roll 1 dice. We'll keep it simple. We'll have our guys be blue, and we'll have the bad guy be red. So she rolls 2d6 and still loses. How sad. Yeah, let me just double check. Yeah, she rolls twice and picks the best roll, but she lost still, so that's unfortunate. So now the enemy is going to roll to overcome her armor, which it does, and then it's going to roll to overcome her toughness, which it doesn't. So she is also stunned and wounded, but I forgot that he's stunned. Let's go look up stunned condition real quick. So I'm digging around in the rules trying to find if a stunned character can initiate an attack. The way that it's worded, it doesn't sound like they can. It says if they must. So he's going to retreat back over here and he's going to yell to his compatriots, like, she's got a crossbow! And that will be him. And then we'll move over here to this fellow. He can get to 5, but another thing about this game, I think we talked about it in the last episode, you can't dash into melee combat in normal circumstances in this game. So the brigands are just going to try and rush her, moving up their 5 and trying to stay as in cover as they can. This bow brigand has basically 2 equally juicy targets. I don't think they can really see Lorien because Lorien is behind Seff. I guess you can make an argument. Yeah, you can make an argument they could do that. So we're just going to roll a d3. Lorien will be 1 and Vectra will be 3. And it is definitely a 1. So they're going to roll to attack Lorien. Lorien will have cover from Seff. Oh, lucky for us, we're all just outside of 6. So they need to roll a 5. They do get a +1, but they miss. And I'm not going to, I forgot to move again, but that's not, actually, they will stay there like that. I was going to say they would want to move, but you can't add your combat bonus as an archer if you have moved. So they'll just stand there and shoot and miss. On to the next one. I think this one will continue with his band of friends trying to come in and basically just rush Vectra. That's his 5, then he's got a few more, so he'll come up into this corner. And this one will just charge in. He'll change tactics and he'll come over here. This one will rush in as well. And we'll have them rush over to the left also. This other bow brigand will run up and dash, but that's all they can do. And Tesselin is just going to stroll, cackling to himself madly. So that is all of our enemies, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Yep, all 9 of them. So I looked some things up, and unfortunately, the stun status goes away at the end of every phase, not the end of every turn. So this brigand leader could attack Vectra. So if you'll remember, I guess you don't have to remember because with the magic of editing, this will be live for you. He had just attacked her and stunned and wounded her. And now he's going to press the attack. She will fall back 1 inch, which she can do just barely, but next time if she loses, her back will be to the wall, and that's going to be real bad for her. So we're going to do this all over again. He is now going to get a +1 combat bonus because she is stunned, and that is no bueno. So once I find my dice, we'll roll again. She's going to fight defensively once more, just trying to get out of the scrap. And he has +2. Man, he rolled another 6. Wow. This may be the end of Vectra here. So he's going to roll to overcome her armor. He definitely does. And then it doesn't matter what he rolls, actually. I guess if he rolled a 1, she would have survived. But she is down and out. So that is quite unfortunate. Just right away, Vector gets removed from the battle. Now our allies get to go. We'll have Seff begin. And I think Seff is going to go try and mix it up. Either that or he's going to shoot with his sling. Slings do have a -1 to hit, which is unfortunate. So I don't think, you know what, he could do. I was trying to measure, not grab him, but that's okay. He could, since he's a feral, he can run over his full distance, which is 5, and then shoot. Because he can't, oh, maybe he can. That's measuring from his initial point. Let's go out like this. He needs to get around that statue. And then from here with 2, I don't believe he can get within 1. That seems like too far for 1. Yeah, base to base, that's a little bit too far. So instead, we will have him stay right there behind that cover, and then he will use his sling to shoot at anything within 6 inches of himself. Ooh, that bow brigand is within 6, so he's going to go for her. It's a -1, but he's hitting on 3s. No, it was a 4 for a second, and then it went to a 1. It's a sling, so he can't run out of ammo, and that is him. Then we'll move over to Marin, who will come out of this door that she opened last turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then she can dash up 3. She'll just dash right by Seff and provide some combat support if/when we get into some battles here. And now he definitely hears the commotion. Oh no, there's a battle over there. What's going on? So he'll move over here, 2, and then 1, 2, and then he'll open and move 2 more because he has to dash through there. And he's just charging with reckless abandon. He can't see any foes yet, but he sees all his friends by that door. He yells over Shriek, Shriek, get over here! And then Shriek will navigate all of these. Actually, he can go through this door right here, so let's do that. That's going to be faster than navigating all those benches right there. So he'll pay 1 to open, so that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and then he'll go 3 more. That is the end of round 2, and we will do our nefarious cultist rolls, and then we'll call it there for now and pick up again. All right, no 6s. So that's 2 rounds in a row of no 6s. And you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to roll for the town guard. First round, that's okay. We didn't really have any battle first round. Second round, though, we've heard some shouting. There's been a man shot with a crossbow, and there's been some arrows loosed. Let's do it this way. Let's do it like a descending trigger. So we'll start at 10. So I'll roll a d10, and if it's a 10, then they've gotten really lucky and noticed. And then after that alarm is triggered, then we'll do another countdown of the number of turns until they get there. but it won't just be a strict countdown like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because I could, as a player in a solo game, could metagame that. So we'll just have it be like a percentile dice every turn to see if they've arrived. But let's roll that d10, and it's only gonna work on a 10 here in our first round, and then 9 next round, and so on and so forth. Wow. Okay, well, you saw it here, folks. That's a 10. The guards have been notified. So now we're gonna roll um, probably on a D10 again. So the guards hear this commotion immediately. I mean, we are in one of the biggest manors in the town, and we did just finish a quest for some well-known folks. So it makes sense we might have some guards around us. Um, just a side note, as I said at the start of the scenario, this is just some extra rules that I added into the scenario with a story point, um, because we're inside of a city. You usually don't get attacked inside of cities, but in our shared co-op campaign, I'm actually on my third turn. I've not rolled a single combat encounter, so we have a new table to resolve idle turns, and this was the combat generated from that table. So it's an unlikely scenario where we're getting ambushed directly in the middle of the city. That being said, yeah, I'll roll a D percentile, and let's give it. You know what? It doesn't have to be a D percentile. We'll make it a D6, and on a 6, they'll arrive. Just that way, I've got about a 17% chance of them arriving. There's a 5, so close. All right, so we hear the guards. They're making a commotion outside, and that does. I think I'll add a +1 every turn. So after they've been notified, every turn will add a +1. So next turn will be a +1, and so on and so forth. And then eventually it will be a 6.
And then we go to the next round. So in the next round, we'll go ahead and roll 5 now. So sad. The only silver lining is that Lorian can summon an ally, perhaps. So we have 5 dice. Let's roll them. We do get a 2. That's exactly what we need. A bunch of 2s, actually. Too bad no one can use them. Seff gets a 1. So we'll give Lorian a 2 and Seff the 1 so that they're all going in this round. I do not like that whole mass of enemies, though. All right, here's what we're going to do. We are going to cast Summon and try and summon an ally here for us. This is a 7 plus. I believe it's a 1 time per battle. Let's look. Where are your little characters here? Yes. Once per battle cast successfully. If I try and cast and fail, I'm pretty sure I can try again. Steel Break is also once per battle, so that's something to note. So that fellow who is Steel Broken is the only time that can be cast. Let's see, we're looking for a 7 plus, and then it basically gives us a follower. It's actually a little better than a follower. It has 2 agility, 4 toughness, 6 speed, no dash, it can't dash, but it has 0, 0 attack profile. So yeah, it basically has a standard profile, which is crazy. And it can act immediately in the phase in which it was summoned. So come on, Lorian, we're really hoping you get the spell off. It's only usable if we have less than 6 warband members and allies on the table, which we do now. And we're gonna roll this, and then I'm actually gonna stop recording because I have to go find a token for this animal, and then I'll come back in and record later. But let's go ahead and make some rolls. Yes. All right. He gets it. He gets +1, so that's an 11. So he goes ahead and he summons. Let's go ahead and use just one of the owlbear default tokens for now. I think there's like a wolf. Yeah, this little monstrosity guy. Boom. Welcome to the jungle. And the only other thing I need to look up is where does this get summoned? I target the ground. It's in base contact with the mystic. Okay, that makes sense. It can move 6 inches, it has 2 agility, and it goes in the same round it was summoned. So that's actually super duper cool. Can you see that token? Yes, you can. Perfect. So the token is going to go next, and then we're going to have it run up and attack something. Yeah, probably this brigand, I would imagine. Maybe the bow brigand. That sounds like a good plan, so we're not getting plunked from afar.
How far are you? 8 inches. That's too far. But this gentleman is not too far, so that's what we'll do. Let's have you move 1, 2. That chandelier is up in the roof, so it can move under it. 3, and then 1, 2, 3. And it has no combat bonus, correct? Yeah. All right. Let's have it attack. It loses. How sad. All right, so it gets pushed back 1, and then this gentleman follows up and decides to push the attack. It's a tie, which means that it loses. So sad. Overcomes armor for sure because it had no armor, and its toughness is 4. All right, so it gets stunned. Mistakes were made. Perhaps we should not have attacked with it, but we've done it. So it gets stunned and wounded. That was not what I was trying to do. There we go. Let's go ahead and remove that. All right, stunned and wounded. And then, whoops, that's the wrong button. Well, we'll take that too, sure. He gets a 2 and we get a 3, so we win. Um, and then he'll get pushed back 1, and the wolf cannot follow up. So we'll move here. Then the stun's going to fall off because the wolf has had a round of combat. So no longer stunned. And actually, we didn't win. That was a push. The brigand would have got a +1 combat bonus because we were stunned. All right. Why is my measure? Oh, it's because it's not on. There we go. So Seff is going to run up as well and get into melee. Kind of regretting our life choices here. I don't know that we really maybe wanted to do this. Perhaps we wanted to run away, but that is all right. We've committed. So now Seff is going to attack one of these fellows, and Seff is going to get a bonus. Let me look up combat bonus real quick. I think it's within 1 of the target, so I think Seff gets a bonus and they don't. Combat bonus. Yeah, the character has an ally within. Oh, it's the. This is the weird part. That's what I was trying to remember. So if the character has an ally within 1 inch, they get the combat bonus. It's not within 1 inch of the enemy necessarily, which seems kind of weird. It seems like it should be within 1 inch of the enemy, right? Yeah, I'm gonna rule that's within 1 inch of the enemy. It doesn't make sense to be like, I get a combat bonus because I have an ally hiding behind me. It's more like where Seff and the summon are set up, where they're next to each other. All that to say, I'm giving Seff a combat bonus because he has an ally within 1 of the enemy, and the enemy does not have an ally within 1 of Seff. So we'll both be rolling on +1s here. Wow, we really are not rolling very well. I'm going to use a story point. I will not use a story point actually because we're the attacker. So we just get pushed back 1, and then he will come up 1, and then we'll do it again. It's a push, so we both get pushed back 1 inch, I believe, and the combat ends. But let me just double check. Oh, interesting. Learning new things every day. So it's if the defender lost the exchange, they retreat 1 inch backwards. But when you're switching, like if you're the defender and you won the exchange, you don't have to push 1 inch backwards. It didn't really impact anything here, so we're not going to worry about that. But that is a good thing to remember. And then what happens in exchanges when it is a tie? I guess it's immaterial because this is the third one anyways, so I'm just going to move forward. I will go ahead and look that up afterwards though, of what happens when it's a tie.
Ah, on a draw, the defender retreats 1 inch, the attacker remains in place, and the melee ends. Okay, so I did largely remember it correctly. This gentleman was the. Oh, actually, no, I was. No, he was the defender. Yeah, so he moves back 1 inch. And that is unfortunately all of us in the quick actions round. So now we have to let them go, and this is gonna hurt. First things first, so you resolve the ranged characters first. The bow brigand is going to shoot at the summon because it has a clear shot on the summon for sure. It needs a 3 up. It actually hits, and then it's going to try and overcome armor. Actually, it's just toughness because it doesn't need to overcome armor. It fails, but this is the second roll on the summon, so the summon actually is gonna die, I believe. I'm just gonna look up real quick. Is it the same profile? Yeah, looks like it is. So our summon dies immediately. That is not ideal. Um, Luckily for us, that bow brigand did not act optimally here. That's kind of my fault. But she wanted the combat bonus so that she could attack and ensure the hit, which she did. But now she's blocking that area for her friends. So since your allies actually block you, this other bow brigand doesn't have a way through. We are going top to bottom, but it doesn't really matter because you're supposed to go ranged characters first. So that's all good. That is something that I messed up in the last turns too. They were supposed to have the ranged characters go before the melee characters and then top to bottom. My bad. What was I looking up for these characters? How far they can move, I think. Oh yeah, I was looking up if the deranged cultist has a ranged attack, which he does not. He just has a standard weapon. Alright, so we're going to have this bow brigand just kind of move out of the way over into the corner here where she's still got shots, but she won't be blocking her allies. And that is that for her. Then we'll have this brigand number 5, who Seff was just in combat with, come up. And goodbye, doggy. Forgot to remove that from the board. And brigand number 5 will engage in combat with Seff. He's feeling pretty confident from last time. We both get 1, so it's a push actually, and that's the end. So that was good for us. Wrong tool. Let's go to measurement tool. Go back 1, and then the combat ends. Thank you very much, sir. Now he's going to move 5. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, and do the same. And it's not a tie. Seff doesn't have a combat bonus. Oh no. Yeah, true. True facts. Okay, so he's going to roll to overcome armor. We've got an armor of 2. He does. And he's going to roll to overcome toughness. We have a toughness of 3. He does not. So we get pushed back 1 and we are stunned. And then he's going to press the attack. And so he will also get, so he's getting +2 and we are not. But we win. So that's great. I guess I could have fought defensively too. That might have been a good thought there, but I didn't. Um, and then when we win, yeah, sorry, these rules are new to me. So I'm wondering, do I get to choose to stop the attack? Because he wasn't the defender, so he doesn't get pushed back. Yeah, it looks like we have become the attacker. We don't move off. And then if there was a push, then we can choose not to proceed at that point, but we will be attacking. The stun does go away because we fought an exchange, so now the enemy is just +1 to our 0. It's kind of funny because my own ruling is working against me right now, because if I'd ruled like rules as written that you have an ally within 1, then Seth would get a combat bonus. But that's okay. I think it needs to be within 1 of the opponent. That seems to be the intent.
There's no reason for Seff not to attack. These guys don't have counterattack, so Seff will attack. He loses. He becomes a defender, and that's the third one. So we push back an inch. Um, who moves in that case, though? Yeah, these are all the type of rules that I'll learn over time, but there's just a lot of kind of edge cases here. All right, so if it's the third exchange, this is what I was thinking of before. Each combatant moves backwards 1 inch to separate them. So this gentleman will move back 1 inch, and Seff will move back 1 inch, and that is that. We'll have this. Next, we'll have a bunch of these brigands come out. Oh my gosh, this is so funny. This was not intended, but these poor brigands look really foolish. Bow Brigand number 2 kind of blocked half the door for her allies. This guy can still get through there, but that was not intentional. I just didn't recognize it's funny. All right, so that's gonna be 3, 4, 5, and then he's got a dash of 2. Get there with your buddies. Same thing over here. I'll come over like this. We'll go 1, 2, 3. Then I'll go 4, 5, and then we'll go 1, 2 more. So these guys don't really have a lot of tactics. They don't need a lot of tactics. They outnumber us like a bunch to one to 5, and they're just gonna keep rushing at us. That's all they really need to do. Just applying pressure. It's 1, and then we'll have them go 1, 2 more. Um, and unfortunately for all of us, this is a very, very dangerous distraction because Tesselin is actually just trying to summon that aberration, and he's doing a pretty good job of it. Close quarters. This probably is most definitely not a recommended 5 leagues map, but that's okay. Marin the follower is not going to be charging in there. She doesn't have a ranged weapon either, unfortunately, so I don't think there's many actions that she can take to assist us here. Let's peruse combat options real quick. I guess she can anticipate so that she gets to go in the quick actions phase. That seems like a pretty good option. She doesn't have a range attack, so she can't do that. She does have a melee weapon, but that's not optimal for her right now. Oh, you know what? I have some bandages. How do those work? It's a use action, so cannot do that. Yeah, so we'll just have Marin anticipate, and what that means is I roll 1 less die next turn, and she automatically acts in the quick actions phase. Um, Hopefully, I get at least 1/1 that I can give to Seff. She'll automatically act in that phase, and then I'm gonna have everybody fall back, and we're gonna try and hold the line up there. Shriek will go next. Shriek moves 5. That is the wrong tool once again. There's 1 for Shriek. +4 is 5. And that door's already open, and he gets to move, oh yeah, 3 because he's wearing heavy armor now. So Shriek gets up to here, which means that next turn he can probably participate. And then we will have Garrick come hold down the fort. He moves 4 + 3 for a total of 7. So we're just going to try and make a wall here and make our last stand. Either that or we could just like literally flee. We might want to start doing that right now. There are a lot of bad guys here. All right, that is everybody. So now we're going to roll the end of turn dice roll. So if it's a 6 and I get a +1 this time, it's a natural 6. Look at that. The guards arrive. All right, so they're going to break everything up. And then we're going to roll 3d6 and see. He also rolled no 6s, so that's great. So with the guards arriving, that was turn 3, so we're into turn 4 now. So they snuck up on us. They got the jump. They jumped in here. They got Vectra, and the guards started becoming aware. And now we're hearing like the whistles, and the guards are shouting outside. So I'm going to give the enemies 1 full round here. Our heroes do know that the guards are coming. They can hear the commotion, and there's guards coming to our aid. And I think what we'll say here is at the end of this round, the brigands are going to try and make a break for it. But they are here specifically to take out Seff. And Seff is right there, right in front of them, and there's a whole bunch of them right there. So we're going to play this turn out, and hopefully he doesn't die. Let's roll 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, because Marin took anticipate, so she's automatically in this round. Ooh, I did get 1, 1. But unfortunately, it is only 1. So I get Marin and Seff in this round. We're going to go ahead and have Marin stand up front. She's formerly from the army, and she settled down to live a peaceful life, so she doesn't have all of her gear, but she is not going to let her leader go down without a fight through her. So we'll have her move up, and then we'll have Seff move back 3, and he'll take a shot with his sling. Technically, you can't break your turns up like that, though, so let me get her in a more optimal position. She was in the doorway. I just want her kind of right, actually right here in front of Lorien even, so they can't get to Lorien, because then she blocks both Seff and Lorien, and Seff can take a step back, and then he can still shoot at Brigand number 4. This is -1 because it's a sling. Brigand number 4 is out in the open, and are you within 6 inches? You are. So we're hitting on 3s, so I need to roll a natural 4 or higher. I, of course, do not. Um, let's go ahead and story point that. There we go. We get the 4, so that's going to be a hit. Now let's roll to overcome armor. We do overcome the armor, and then let's roll to overcome toughness, and we do not. That's just how the day is going. All right. Let's go ahead and push. Oh, sorry, he doesn't push. He just gets wounded. So let's put a wound on this gentleman. There you go. Wound acquired. All right. Well, poor Brigand number 4 has been the brunt of many, many attacks, and he is sick and tired of it. So he's going to charge up. He's going to try and leave some space for his friends. And then he's going to attack. Let's see if Seff is within 1. I think technically he's not. That is a little unfortunate. All right, so it's going to be a one-on-one combat there. And I'm going to have to look up the rule for pushing because Lorian's right behind her. All right, he wins again. Man, these guys have been rolling crazy amounts of 6s. So he wins. He does not overcome her armor. So that is great. She does have armor, a light armor. So she has 1. And what that means is she is stunned and the attack fails. So we go again. She will push back 1 inch. Now I do need to look up what happens when you push and there's an ally behind you. So in the actual rules, it just says they move 1 backwards, and if they can't, then they're stunned, which I guess doesn't matter because she's already stunned. So we'll just rule it that way. She can't push through Lorien because you body block in this game. So she gets stunned. And then we're going to do it again. This guy's going to get a +2. Ouch. So he wins again. He overcomes her armor that time just barely, and he does not overcome her toughness, so she becomes stunned once again. Actually, that was a 1, right? When you're rolling to overcome toughness and you get a 1, I think it's just stunned. Yes, if it's natural and the target's stunned, so she is not wounded. So Marin is doing her job body blocking very well. And then she actually wins the last exchange. Nice. All right, so she wins, and then this bloke has to back up. So he'll back up an inch. She cannot back up an inch. He'll back up kind of this way so his friends have a shot. Speaking of friends having a shot, here comes another one right up to there. And then let's do a measurement. Is he within 1 of Seff? He is, so she'll get a combat bonus. And you know what? I forgot once again that the bow brigands should have gone first. So we will resolve them in just a second. That actually is material though. So let's have the bow brigand She's gonna move up this time because she realizes she's blocking her allies. All these pillows are rough terrain. We'll move her over to there, which also gets her closer to us. So she has no combat bonus, but she is able to attack. We're retconning, so Brigand 5 is not actually standing there right now. And then she'll take a shot at Marin, but she gets no bonus. That is a hit. She'll try and overcome armor. That is an overcome armor, and then she'll try and overcome toughness, and that is also overcome toughness. How absolutely sad. So Marin also gets destroyed, and now Brigand 5 can go, and he can push right up to Seff. Um, Lorien is a really, really tempting target too, though, so I'm going to randomize. We'll go odds. No, we won't go odds. Let's go 5-6 Lorien. Anything else, Seff. All right, so it's a 3. He is going to attack Seff. Seff will get a +1 combat bonus, and the Brigand also gets a +1. Man, they are rolling like fire. Okay, so, oh, you know what? I'm going to have Seff roll defensively there. Um, that's not good enough, so he still wins. Overcome armor, definitely overcomes armor. Overcome toughness, also overcomes toughness. Wow, we are getting destroyed. So Seff gets taken out as well. They're cackling. They're like, we got him! The Sunfang is down! And then they're actually going to start skedaddling because they have sent their message and they hear there's a number of them that are wounded and they hear the bad guys, well, the good guys in our case, the bad guys for them, are coming. So I did forget about this bow brigand as well. Shoot. How to not take a turn in this game 101 because I'm not used to it being phase by phase like this. I'll say that she can shoot at Seff. It's on 5s. It's on 6s actually because he's behind cover. But she's going to take the shot and run, so it doesn't matter. All right, so she misses. And then all of these others are just going to skedaddle. They have sent the message, which is, we're here to get you, Sunfang. All right, let's undo that. Go back to where you're at. You get to move 5 and then 3, so you're just going to move straight back. Same thing here. You get to move 5 and then 2 for 8. You get to move 5 and then 2 for 7. I said 5 and then 2 for 8. That's some great math. Um, he should have been back 1. My bad. All right, you come up here, and then you're going to come over there like this. 7. All right, and that is the end of the phase. The guards do end up coming. We did not achieve our secondary objective of defeating more than half of their warband within 4 turns. In fact, we did not defeat a single enemy, which is quite demoralizing. And now we have to see what the fate of our leader, Seff, is. So the round ends. They all skedaddle. The guards come to our aid and help us. Um, just an FYI, even if the guards, like part of the scenario, if the guards weren't coming to help us at this point, we would run away because we're way outmanned. So I probably would have had Lorien and Garrick just like book it, and then have Shriek come up and like hold the ground, this door right here. So I think we were faster than them, except for Garrick, who is about the same speed, but we were ahead of them. So I think we would have made it out either way. But that is quite unfortunate. It really got wrecked by these bandits. So let's go ahead and roll for our injury tables in the order that we were injured. Let's first go with Vectra. She gets a 73 on the injury table, which is an item is damaged. I'll have to look up how I determine which item of hers is damaged, but it's probably her bow. Hopefully it's her. Actually, she has 2 items. She has her bow and she has her sword. Item damage, randomly select an item from their weapons and armor. Okay, so there's three options. So she has her so she has her armor, her standard weapon, and her crossbow. So we're gonna roll a d3. Her crossbow is gonna be 1-2. Come on, not 1-2. Whew, all right. So the next one is gonna be her weapon, and then it's gonna be her armor. So that's her standard weapon, which is like the perfect outcome for us because I was hoping that her standard weapon would be the one that got hit. That's the one that we can deal with the most. If her crossbow got hurt, damaged, that would have been real rough. All right. Noted. Let's come back over here and Seff can roll. Seff got a 94, which is just knocked out. So in their haste, they were unable to do any serious damage to him. He just gets knocked out and a little bit humbled. And then finally, oh, you know what? We were going in order. That should have been Marin. So Seff is last, even though I really wish that that was Seff. We do have that talisman that we just bought, so perhaps that will help us out. We got a 37. Low numbers are not great here. A 37 is a moderate injury with a recovery time of D6 campaign turns. We could ignore this with a luck point. I feel like I'd like to keep a luck point for when someone dies, though. And we do have Silver Tree Leaf as well. Oh, interesting. So with Silver Tree Leaf, you can use it to re-roll on the injury table, but you must use the new roll, even if it's worse. And if I look up this talisman, I don't think that it overcomes that. Oh, actually it does. If a roll in the post-battle injury or fight in the dark table would result in the character dying, roll a d6. But you know what? We're just gonna take it. We'll just take the damage. Let's see how long Seff is out for. That's 5. Not great. So he's gonna be out for 5 turns after this one, which is a long, long time. I believe Silver Tree Leaf can be used to reduce that a bit. It does not let you reduce the turns at all. So that's unfortunate. I don't think we have any recourse here because I don't think the talisman helps us either. Yeah, the talisman's only if they're going to die. But you know what? There are worse things than dying. We will go ahead and take our lashes. So Seff did get quite roughed up. 5-turn recovery. And then we'll just have to go and see if we can, what's the word I'm looking for? We'll just have to see if we can find a healer. We are in town, so it sounds like we probably will be visiting a healer. So that's that. And then I will roll off screen, or maybe I'll roll later and then record it and put it back in. But I'll let everybody know how our rolls went, what happened. We survived, luckily, so no one died. Unfortunately, Seff got the most injured. He'll be out for 5 campaign turns, but that's all right. We can deal with it. We can either recruit someone to take his spot temporarily, or we can try and find a healer to help him come up to speed faster. One of the two. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Have a good one.